Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. And today we are trying out some new products. So we've got new products from brands like La Bouche Rouge. We've got the new Goss brush and so forth. And I also have thrown in a couple of my favorite products that I talked about in my 2021 favorites. So we've got kind of a mix, but the majority of the items today are going to be new. So let's dive in and see what we've got. All right, so we are going to start off with the SUQQU. This is the SUQQU Glow Powder Foundation, and I have shade 210 here. It's not the perfect shade for me. It's a little bit deeper than I would like, but I'm just going to take my finger, and to use it as concealer, I'm just dabbing a little bit with my finger under my eye, just for underneath my eyes. And then for the rest of my face, I want to try out the new Goss brush, and this sold out. So this is the holiday brush this year, and you can see the shape. It's actually more of a teardrop shape. So you can see it looks triangular, but if you have it with the words going on the top, you can see that the angles are it's slightly more teardrop than a true, just than an equilateral triangle. So yeah, so I consider this the top, and it's dense. So look at the way this moves. It's very soft. It is all undyed goat hair. Very nice brush. I don't know if it's going to be restocked or not, but you can see how much powder comes up just touching it with this brush. And I'm just going to dab this on, and we'll do one side at a time. I love this powder foundation. This made it into my 2021 favorites because, look at this. Look at the finish on your skin. And when I wear this during the summer and it like kind of melts into my skin with the heat a little bit faster, you really can't tell that you have something there. It's just, your skin just looks so much better. Now, I do have a little spot here that I had previously been picking on, so it's a little red right now. So I'm just going to dab a little bit of that with my finger, and you can see how well the powder actually works for this. But look at these two sides. I just think it's like such a marked difference. And I'm going to go ahead and add to this side now. This brush is very soft on the skin, and the density is fantastic for this. I'd say it feels a little bit more dense than the Sonia G Face One. Let me look at those two together. This is a little big to actually fit under the eye. I'm trying, but it's just too big. It doesn't really work so well there. So let's look at the Face One. All right, so this is the original Sonia G Face One. The new one is now called the the Buffer Pro. And you can see the difference here between these. The Goss is definitely more dense. I would say probably 1.5 times more dense if I had to try to quantify it. Obviously, I don't know the true density here. Part of the reason that it's going to feel more dense is the Goss hairs are a little bit shorter. So regardless of the true density, it's going to feel a little bit more dense because there isn't quite as much movement with the shorter bristles versus the longer bristles. Now, the Sonia G is going to be your dyed goat hair, and we have the undyed here. When you move your finger up or down, however you want to describe it, along the cuticle here, the dyed goat hair definitely feels softer, but when you are rubbing them on your skin, I would say that they actually feel pretty similar. The major difference that you're going to notice is the density, but not the softness in the hair. So it feels very, very soft, very nice on the skin. It's probably a little bit too big, in my opinion, for blush. But for buffing and powders of any type, I think this brush is going to be great. And you can use this with liquid products as well. This is my first time using it, but I just think the density of this, the first thing I thought of with this was powder foundation. And I think, like, if you like to buff in meteorites, this is going to be key for that as well. So I think we'll try that at the end as well. So one of my favorite brushes here is the SUQQU KZ4, which is unavailable now. It has been discontinued. We're going to use this brush for the Dior blush in 361. I'm not sure how to say it, Mi Fiore or something like that, but it's a limited edition. I was surprised to see it is actually still available, but it's only on the Dior website. It's the only place you can purchase it. And we're just going to put this on. This is a very light blush, and I just love how it just gives me this soft touch of rosiness in the cheeks. And you can see there's a little bit of a sheen. There's no like glitter or anything like that, but just a little bit of a satin finish there. So this is Dior in 361. And this blush, you know, I used this brush, but if you'd like to make this more intense, use something like the SUQQU Buffer Pro or Face One or the Smooth Buffer. All of those, since they are more dense brushes, they will apply it a little bit more strongly. But I think it's just a really gorgeous, natural looking shade for fair, light skin tones. Now for highlighters, we're going to look at the Shiseido Aura Dew. This is Lunar 01. And I bought this, I've used it like once or twice, but honestly, I kind of forgot about it. It kind of got lost in my drawer. So we're just going to get a little bit of this up on my finger and just tap this on. You can see this definitely has like glitter in it. Definitely a sheen here. I can see why they call it lunar. So I think it's very pretty. It depends what kind of look you're going for with a highlighter. But the formula, I think mine's drying out a little bit more so than when I initially purchased it, because it feels a little bit loose in the container now. But it's like more of a silky cream formula. It's definitely not one that you touch and you can indent. It's firmer than that, but it has kind of that silky texture. So let's move on to meteorites. We're going to go ahead with my favorite Guerlain meteorites, the Pearl Glow, which came from the Spring 2020 collection. These did make it to my favorites or Spring 2021. These made it to my favorites for 2021, and they are available at Feel Unique. But let's go ahead and we're going to do a side-by-side with the SUQQU Face One and the Wayne Goss. So I'm just going to put the brush in here, swirl it around a little bit, and let's go ahead and buff this in on the right side of my face. Now, one of the reasons I put that highlight on before buffing is I wanted to see how much it moves with the brush movement. And honestly, I was hoping it would move a little bit. So you can see it did, but it is still mainly concentrated there, but the sparkle has diffused a little bit. It's moved a little bit further down. So meteorites with the Wayne Goss brush. Let's check the other side. Now with the Face One, and again, this one's the original. It has the barrel handle. So just putting the brush in the same way. And let's go ahead and see how this one goes. So you can see just how the brush goes on the skin. That it's not as dense, and there's a little bit more fluidity with the bristles. You can also see that the highlighter does not move as much as it did with the Wayne Goss. It moved with both of them, but it moved more with the Wayne Goss because those bristles are a little bit denser, a little bit firmer. So I think the actual appearance of the meteorites on both sides, pretty similar. I don't really notice much of a difference, but just wanted to show you. Let me know if you guys think you see a difference. And then next I wanted to try out a La Bouche Rouge eyeshadow palette. So this summer, right around my birthday, they came out with the Elsa Hosk collaboration, which had this gorgeous like lavender color cases along with like a bright lime green. I didn't get the lime green, but I did order the lavender. Now, my intention was to film with these when I originally got them, but my particular order came very late. it was a pre-order situation, and then it was back ordered and everything. And then mine actually came a little bit messed up here. So let me just clean that off. So this is the shade Tage, or Tage, it's T-A-G-E. And this is their all matte palette. And you can see that the lid is reflective. It's technically not like a glass mirror, it's metal, but it functions exactly like a mirror. So we've got this metal case. These are refillable, and actually you can purchase just the refills alone. And then the case and the palette, you know, are separate. So when I purchased these, I originally just wanted the purple case, but unfortunately when I ordered, you couldn't do that. And then later, after I had already ordered and my order was supposed to be on the way and everything, then they made the cases available separately. And then of course they also made them available at other retailers. So you can still find pieces of the Elsa Haas collection around at certain retailers. So let's go ahead and take a look at these. Let's swatch these first and see what they look like. The other La Bouche Rouge eyeshadow palette that I have is, forget, it's the one with like the purpley shimmer shades. So it's a different finish. They're going to be shimmery satins instead of mattes. I have to say these mattes are really creamy. I didn't expect that. And you've got neutral brown shades, but you can see that this one here is a little bit cooler. I'd say it's neutral. It's not really a cool shade, but it's going to be cooler than the first and the third shade here. And this fourth shade here is going to be a little bit cooler as well. So we kind of have a warm golden beige with more of a warm taupe. So, you know, taupes are traditionally cooler tone. I would say this is warmer for the taupe family, but I'd say it's pretty neutral on the spectrum. And then this one here is almost like, it's not quite as clay as a clay brown shade, but I would say it's like, it's definitely got those clay qualities in there. So it's more of a true brown mixed with clay. And then we have this cool tone, like deep espresso brown. And let's see how these go on the eyes. All right, so I don't have on any eye primer. We're going to start with shade number 3, and this is the Refer 15 brush. You can see when I touch it with the brush, it is pretty powdery. So you get a lot of kind of like dust there. And we're just going to lightly put this in the crease here. Now, I do have to say that the mirror, the metal functioning as a mirror, it works. It's totally clear and reflective, but the coloration is not quite true. It's a little bit warmer in color than what I see when I look in the regular glass mirror. So it's great for like placement, but not necessarily color accuracy, if that makes sense. It's almost like there's a little bit of a golden hue to the tone due to the metal. So just gonna, I wiped the brush off. I'm just gonna kind of soften that a little bit. Next, I'm taking the Smith 253. I'm gonna start off into this lightest shade, number 1, and just dabbing off the excess here. And I'm gonna start in this inner corner and kind of blend out the first quarter of the lid space. Then I'm going to go into the deepest shade and just getting a tiny, tiny bit here. And we're going to put this right here on the outer portion. I wiped off the brush, and I'm going to go into the second shade now, this more taupey shade. And I'm going to put this basically all over the lid. All right, so there's that. I have to say, just kind of dusting off some of this because it is powdery. It's really easy to kind of mix the shades together. I'm going to wipe off this Rephr 15. I'm going to go into the second shade again, the taupe, and just kind of dust that over the whole lid a little bit better. I feel like it's not, the deeper shade is still just like really, really evident. That's all. All right, so I'm gonna take the 15 into the lightest shade, the number 1, and I'm just gonna put this in the crease, like kind of like above the crease up to the brow, just to kind of diffuse that third shade a little bit. All right, and I think for liner today, let's actually just use this. So I'm gonna go in with a taupe. This is the Smudger 2 from Sonia G. I'm gonna put this one on the lower lash line, and then I'm going to put the dark one on the upper lash line. Okay, so just adding a touch to the outer corner of the lower lash line as well. And then just kind of smudging this in right along the lashes. So I don't want anything obvious, so I'm just really diluting it kind of and smudging it into the lashes themselves so that it just looks a little bit deeper there. Okay, and I'm just going to take the side of this into the lightest shade and just add a touch right here at the inner corner. Honestly, this lightest shade isn't really all that brightening, but just wanted to see how that performed. All right, I'm just gonna dab this with the Sonia G. This is the Jumbo Concealer. I'm just using this because it was at hand. I'm just gonna dab a little bit of that powder right there. A little bit better. And let's do brows and then we'll do mascara. For brows, I'm using the Jones Road brow pencil. You can see it's very, very tiny now. This is the shade Ash. And I don't know what I'm doing. I think this is just about at the end of its lifespan here. I don't know if I can sharpen this any further or if I don't know if it'll fit in the sharpener anymore. So this brow pencil actually gives fibers off, which is really helpful for me. So I'm just kind of putting in a few, and then I like to take a, like a brush for it. So this is my favorite brush. This is the Omnia BOM 510. And it's just like the brow brush. So you've got one side with the slanted edge if you want to use it with like powders or whatever. And then you have the wand side, which I like to run through. And sometimes I'll add like a clear brow gel. Other times this is just it. So we're going to stay light and no gels. So for the mascara, I'm going with the Kjaer Weis Impossible mascara and just going to go ahead and add a coat to the upper lash line. All right, so that's just one coat of that mascara. I really like this. The more I use it, the more I like it. And I think I will definitely be repurchasing a refill of that at some time. The Kjaer Weis mascara and Kjaer Weis products in general are refillable. So I think that's a really nice idea. And this is a metal tube here. So yeah, you can just buy a refill for it. For lips, we're going to take the La Bouche Rouge lipstick in Elsa Nude. So I purchased this lipstick case during the collection as well. And this is the first time I've gotten one engraved. So I chose to get my initials. You can get up to 3 spaces. And one of the options is you can actually do a heart. So I just wasn't sure if I put a heart in here where it would go. And yeah, so I did it this way, and I think they do 2 and then 1. So that's how I think it goes. Now, if you're familiar with these cases, they are magnetic. If you're not, there are different options. You have kind of a reflective surface on the bottom, the metal again, so you can see what you're doing. You've got the La Bouche Rouge on the top. They have leather, vegan leather options. And this is the case. And you get the refill. You can see it has this screw in here. And as I mentioned in my video on the Bond number 9 lipsticks, those lipsticks fit in these cases as well. Now, if you want to know what shade it is printed on the refill, but when you snap the refill in, and it has to fit in properly, with the gear shape, but then it is a magnet. You can't see the name unless you pull the refill out. So just something to know, but they're really easy to change shades around. And when you purchase your lipstick, it comes in one of these like cardboard tubes like this. And yeah, so this is actually another one that I have, and you can just kind of mix and match where what cases you put them in. All right, so I have no chapstick or anything on my lips. You can see they look a little dry, but they feel actually very smooth. This is the Elsa Husk lipstick, the nude shade. Let me just show you a swatch of that. So this is one sheer layer. And if you were to build it up, you can see it gets a lot peachier. So it is peachier and a little bit warmer than I expected when I purchased it. I do really like the satin version of the lipsticks, and the mattes, honestly, they're not that different. They're not like a dry looking matte. They're actually more of a satin matte. So this is the Nude Elsa, and so that's one thin layer of Nude Elsa. You can see it's pretty peachy, but it's still fairly sheer. So if you just want something light, and then you can build it up. So here it is built up. I've worn this a few times already. Typically when I wear it, I wear the sheerer layer because I feel like it's not as peachy looking on me then. I feel like the peachy shade for me only works with like certain ensembles. So it doesn't always work. So yeah, it's not a favorite shade for me. Let me show you everything from a distance. So here is everything. We have the eyeshadow here, which they're all matte shades. You can see them here together. And, I think overall, although these two shades are cooler, I feel like since you're probably going to use these 3 more than this deepest shade for most people, overall the quad leans a little bit warm. The shadows themselves are fairly powdery, but they go on very smoothly and thinly on the eyes. So like you don't feel any, they're very creamy to the touch if you use your finger with them as well. So the only thing is, because there's no separation between the actual shades in the quad, that when you go into one shade and you get some of that powder kick up, it then goes on to the next shade a little bit. So if you're using multiple shades, you kind of want to remove some of that kick up before going into another shade, and just something to note there. But I think overall the shadows perform fairly well. I would say that they act almost more like a pigment than a shadow. A lot of times a regular powder eyeshadow, they can blend out. They have more of like that powder base. And though these are a powder formulation, they're not quite as thin as a pigment. I do feel like they have some of those qualities of a true pigment, where they kind of stay where you put them, so it doesn't blend out quite as easily as a traditional eyeshadow. I think on the eye, they end up looking really nice. And I have worn the satin shades, and those have lasted without a primer all day. So we'll see how these do, and I will let you guys know either here on the screen or down below in the description box. But overall, I would say that the shadows in general perform really well. They are nice shadows, but I wouldn't say that La Bouche Rouge eyeshadows are a favorite for me. Honestly, I picked this up because I wanted the case. And at the time, that was the only way to get it. And later, they started selling the case separately. But I will pick up another La Bouche Rouge eyeshadow palette at some time because actually I have an empty case. So I need a refill for something because I had purchased the bronzer and I didn't like it. So I gave away my bronzer, but I kept the case for it. So I will be picking up another eyeshadow palette at some point. And yeah, so I think the eyeshadows overall are nice. And this lipstick shade, it's not my favorite shade, but I do really like the La Bouche Rouge formula. It's thin on the lips. It feels moisturizing, but not like a creamy moisturizing feeling, more so like a very thin layer. Like, you know, some of those lip balms that are very thin and more waxy. It's more like that, but a little less heavy on the wax. So it's a thin sheer texture. I think they're very comfortable, but the colors, the pigmentations, they're not super long wearing. So typically for La Bouche Rouge lipsticks, I feel like they're ones that you want to plan on reapplying every few hours. But I do really like the formulas, and I have been slowly amassing a collection of various shades of these. And I feel like in general, if you're looking at the pictures on their website, their pictures are terrible, by the way. You cannot tell what the colors really look like. A lot of them all look the same. But in general, I feel like their colors typically, the lighter shades at least, are always warmer in person than they look on the website. So just something to note here. So this is the Nude Elsa, and it's pretty warm. Let me show you Rosewood, which is a similar shade. So this is La Bouche Rouge in Rosewood. I'm going to put this right next to it. And Rosewood is a really nice shade. It is also a little bit peachier. So this is Rosewood and this one. So the two ends are Rosewood and we have Nude Elsa in the middle. So you can see that they do have similar tones, but Rosewood is slightly more pink and it's also a little bit lighter than Nude Elsa. But you can see that they are fairly similar. So just something to note. And yeah, that's it for those products. The mascara, as I mentioned, the Kjaer Weis, I'm really enjoying that mascara. I will pick up a refill of that. Took me a while to make up my mind. It is wetter at the beginning, but I've had this open for a while now, and it's like the perfect consistency right now, and I'm really enjoying it. Jones Road Brow Pencil, it's a favorite. I will repurchase that. The blush from Dior, I really like that one. I put on just a little bit today, but you know, you can really build that up with the buffing brush and get this beautiful like soft pink flush if you want more color. The highlight from Shiseido, I like it, but I wish it was a little bit less glittery. It's not my favorite, but I like the formula. So I'm curious to see, you know, what's going on with these since they did discontinue the whipped blushes. I think these are still technically available, not discontinued, but I don't know for how long or if, I don't know what's going on. I feel like Shiseido is always a mess, you know, with discontinuing things that are pretty good. So we'll see what happens with those. But I like, but don't love that highlighter. The SUQQU powder foundation is a total love for me. I absolutely love it, but I do wish that they had a lighter shade. So I'm hopeful that maybe in the new year, they will add some more shades to their powder foundation range because they have been adding some new shades, lighter and deeper shades to their liquid foundations. So they have a new liquid foundation coming out in a couple months. Hopefully sometime this year, they'll expand the powder foundation range as well because I just think it's really, really great. And is that everything that we used today? Other than the Wayne Goss brush? Yes. Now the Wayne Goss brush, I think this is really great. If it does restock, I think it's worth it. Originally when I saw it and I saw it was $95 for this brush, I was like, I don't know if that's really going to be worth it, you know, but the density on this brush and the softness of the bristles, I do think that the $95 is worth it. It's a really, really nice brush. I have not used it with liquids. Again, today is the only day I've used it, but I am very, very happy with it. I like the shape of it as well. It's a little different than just your traditional round brush, which it does help get into certain areas a little bit better. Again, it is too big for me to use under my eyes, but it does, you know, add a little bit better sculpting ability with this more teardrop shape versus, you know, a traditional round shape. And I absolutely love the density and softness of this. So I think this is a winner. If it restocks, I would recommend the brush. So I think that's everything, and I hope this was helpful. So thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great day. Happy holidays, and I'll see you very soon.